Breaking news. Donald Trump has ramped up his presidential campaign with a strong speech supporting the US dollar. In recent months, he has threatened to impose 100% tariffs on countries that choose to de-dollarize their economies, meaning those that decide to stop using the dollar in international trade. This is in response to de-dollarization efforts driven by the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, who are looking for alternatives to reduce their dependence on the dollar. During a rally in Wisconsin, Trump stated that any country that abandons the dollar will not be able to do business with the United States. He said he would impose severe economic sanctions, including these high tariffs. This measure aims to protect the dollar's position as the world's leading reserve currency and curb the advance of emerging economies that are exploring other payment systems and currencies for their trade. The dollar's dominance has been undisputed for decades, but in recent years its dominance has begun to weaken. Globally, the dollar still represents 59% of official currency reserves, but its share has been gradually decreasing. Countries like the BRICS nations have begun a transition towards using other currencies, such as the Chinese yuan, for their trade transactions. This allows them to avoid the economic and political influence of the United States. De-dollarization has gained momentum, especially after the United States imposed economic sanctions on Russia following the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. These events have led several countries to reconsider their dependence on the dollar as the dominant currency in international trade. Trump's proposal to impose 100% tariffs on countries that abandon the dollar has sparked warnings from economic analysts. While the goal is to protect the dollar's position, many believe that this policy could backfire. Instead of stopping de-dollarization, it could accelerate it, as affected countries would seek other forms of trade that do not depend on the dollar. Additionally, imposing such high tariffs would affect both the United States and the economies of the countries it trades with. It would increase the costs of imported products and could lead to a decrease in US GDP. The trade tensions that could result from such a strict tariff policy would also have repercussions on international trade volumes. For example, in 2023, the United States exchanged $254.4 billion with China, $100.4 billion with India, $58.3 billion with Brazil, $48.2 billion with Russia, and $21.4 billion with South Africa. Imposing 100% tariffs on these countries could drastically reduce these trade volumes and generate retaliation, further complicating diplomatic and economic relations between nations. Furthermore, such a policy could weaken the dollar in the long run. By imposing sanctions and tariffs on countries that opt for other currencies, the United States could be encouraging more nations to explore alternatives to the dollar. While the dollar remains the world's reserve currency, its status could be jeopardized if de-dollarization continues to advance. Some analysts warn that instead of protecting the dollar's position, these policies could lead to its decline as the dominant currency in the international financial system. In more concrete terms, American businesses and consumers would also suffer the consequences of these tariffs. Companies that rely on importing materials from countries affected by tariffs would face a significant increase in production costs, which would translate into higher prices for consumers. In addition, reduced productivity could lead to massive layoffs in industries that depend on international trade. Economic researchers estimate that tariffs of this magnitude could reduce US GDP growth by between 0.2% and 0.8%. Trump's threat to impose 100% tariffs on countries that abandon the dollar raises serious questions about the future of the global economy and the role of the United States in it. While his goal is to protect the hegemony of the dollar, the consequences of such an aggressive policy could be more harmful than beneficial. Instead of curbing de-dollarization, Trump could be fostering a faster transition to a multipolar global financial system in which the dollar would no longer be the dominant currency. With the US presidential election on the horizon, it will be crucial to observe how this debate evolves and how the BRICS countries respond. What is at stake is not only the position of the United States in international trade, but also the stability of the global economy in the coming years.